Welcome to the High Rankings podcast, brought to you by Dispensary-Growth, the preeminent SEO agency for dispensaries. Each episode will dive into the world of search engine optimization for cannabis dispensaries. We'll discuss the latest strategies and tactics to help your dispensary rank higher on search engines and attract more patients and customers. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, join us as we explore how to maximize your online presence and stay ahead of the competition in the rapidly growing cannabis industry.
Hello! Look, you're seeing our beautiful faces. Well, mine.
My beautiful face.
For those of you who are listening and not watching, sorry, you're missing out. Welcome to another episode of the High Rankings podcast. I'm sick. I currently have a cough suppressant thing in my mouth, so my manners have escaped me today. Episode 83, we have an amazing guest on.
Yeah,
Amy.
banger.
She is a diamond product expert for Google My Business, which I didn't even know what that meant a week ago. Obviously, I know what Google My Business meant a week ago, but I did not know that there was even a position or a role like this. And she is so interesting. She's one of, what did she say, 7 to 10
like less than 10
level.
Yeah, there's like less than 10 available
experts. Yeah. And she was English speaking, I correct myself. Yeah. And she was the first female English speaking Google Diamond product expert. She is so fascinating. I honestly, after we finished recording, we kept chatting for a bit. She's just so full of like interesting information and stories and tidbits. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy this podcast, because she is she just fascinates me. And to think that she's only one tiny aspect of the Google world, and that there are people like her for each like individual thing that Google offers, whether it's ads, email, calendar, whatever it might be, right? It's fascinating. And she's super nice too. She's very easy.
Oh, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's great. So hopefully you'll love this episode. Whilst I'm dying, why don't you go ahead and fill in our listeners with your exciting life? Oh, I do have a question for you. And I'm not being facetious. I genuinely don't know the answer to this question. But I think on the last episode, you said that your hockey team was playing my local hockey team.
Yes.
And I just didn't know who won that game, Matt. Whatever.
Okay, so, well, the Avs lost.
Oh, so Tampa Bay Lightning won.
The Avs lost. And
Tampa Bay Lightning won. Okay.
The Avs have been running into some goalie issues. Their starting goalie, it's just really bad timing for their starting goalie, because he was just on, a cold streak.
Right.
He gets benched for a little bit. They, for some reason, didn't start their backup goalie, who's been playing actually pretty well. They brought in a third stringer. They claimed him off waivers. He started that game, and I mean, he gets pumped for 3 goals in like the first 4 minutes. Like, it was, Tampa had 3 shots. I think it was 2-0. 2 minutes. It was bad, and it get claimed off of waivers onto a team like the Avalanche. That's a really good team. And it's your debut, it's on home ice, and you first 2 shots go in. It was pretty bad. It was brutal. And it's on the eve of Halloween. So there's there's a buzz in the crowd. There's costumes, and it's a festive night, and there's it's supposed to be a lot of fun. And then it's just bam, bam, back to back. They just get crushed.
Bummer.
So yeah, that happened. Also, is that a new picture of DOG in the back? Is that?
It's not DOG. I actually just moved that from another location. So when I was in England last year, I was in Brighton.
Not DOG?
No, it is a Frenchie.
Oh.
I bought that from Brighton when I was in Brighton with my husband and the kids and my mom and stepdad. I bought that in Brighton, and it was hanging somewhere else in my house, and it's now, I moved it.
It's a cool picture.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's not specifically DOG.
No.
She is sleeping left.
Yeah, I love this new cold weather. This is nice. I still try and bike.
Turns out cold weather. What is that? What is cold?
Yeah, because you're in Florida. 30s at night. It's freaking awesome. And I just sleep I literally sleep like with my window wide open and the heat still kind of blasts, but it's the best. Oh my gosh, it's the best. I basically sleep outside with like some hot air blowing in, and it's so awesome. Because I have such heavy covers and I have 2 weighted blankets because I don't sleep in general. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. It's such a cool
We're in the
feeling.
80s all week, although there is a hurricane out there. So
I heard that this morning.
I don't know where it is.
Let's
I have
see.
to-
Abs are um rebounding. I'm gonna start holiday shopping soon.
You are full of shit.
No, I'm gonna start holiday shopping
You are
soon.
full of shit. You'll be out on Christmas Eve. Text me, what should I get so and so?
um
Only store that's open is Target.
so I've got an Amazon list, and well, I have like a notepad, and then like everybody I can buy presents for, and then I just jot down ideas on there, and then I can just get them from Amazon. So that's cool. And might go to
Right.
Vegas.
Explain it to me.
Loosely,
what are you doing in Vegas?
yeah, with a girlfriend. That is, well, we're recording early November. Loosely going, or planned. We're planning, loosely planning now for like 2 weeks from now. Thanksgiving is late November this year, and loosely
You go
planning.
into the F1 fucking, if you're going to the F1 race
Oh,
with your girlfriend and I don't get a fucking invite, I am going to quit. Because this is some bullshit. Because do you know what's happening? I want to say it's the 22nd, 24th.
that might be it. That might
Let
be
me
it.
just check myself. It's the November the 20th, which is a Wednesday because it's late at night.
Mhm.
It's Wednesday, Thursday night, Thursday, Friday night, and then the race is Saturday at like 1:00 a.m. My time, if this is some fucking bullshit and you're just dropping this on me now in the podcast live, I'm going to be so fucking pissed.
I think those are the dates we were looking at, actually, and we're just gonna buzz over there.
Good luck, because you're going to pay a fuck ton of money.
I didn't even think of that. Well, she's in F1, so actually she might want to go.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. Okay, so that's an option. I didn't realize that.
By the way,
wasn't there
getting the flight?
Yeah. Was there a bunch of fuckery last year with
Yeah, there was
F1?
a bunch of fuckery last year. There was a bunch of fuckery last year in Q1 and Q2.
Qualifying?
Remember the manhole cover situation?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
You don't remember a goddamn thing.
Or I just wasn't.
You also
listening.
didn't watch the race at the weekend, the brilliant Brazilian race at the weekend, where Alpine finished.
I don't even know what that means.
No, you didn't. You don't even know who Alpine is or who even drives for Alpine. So why don't you do us all a favor and get me a ticket and your girlfriend a ticket, and I'll meet her.
Nope, that's not gonna happen, fam. That ain't happening. So I didn't even realize those are the dates. I'll have to text her, or maybe she did that on purpose to be there for F1. I don't know. Anyway, it's an idea. And what else do we have going on? Yeah, it turns out my hand is still broken.
Yeah, it's not gonna fix it.
Well, it's supposed to, but it's supposed to take like a year. But I do still have to have the bone fused. And yeah, what's going on with you?
Well, I'm sick. Today, it's a very important day. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not going there. You know what today is? It's November the 5th. Do you know what day that is?
Tell me.
No, remember the 5th of November. It's Guy Fawkes Day for us Brits.
What is it?
Oh my goodness. Guy Fawkes tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament to overthrow the royalty.
Yeah.
It's when we do fireworks, which actually makes sense because it gets dark earlier. So as when I was a kid, you'd go to a public place and there'd be a massive bonfire, huge bonfire.
Mm-hmm.
And this bit I'm about to tell you, they don't do it anymore for obvious reasons. But you used to get an effigy of a man, Guy Fawkes, and you'd put him on the bonfire and he would burn.
What?
You don't do that bit anymore. And then we'd have fireworks that shoot off because basically the monarchy was not overturned. And he was planning on literally blowing up the Houses of Parliament with gunpowder. And so to celebrate that not happening, we used to burn him or an effigy of him and then set fireworks off. And you'd have like hot chocolate and like roast potatoes, and because it's cold in November. And so, yeah, today in England, across the world, no, in England, we have bonfire night. So you dress up nice and toasty warm. You go get your hot chocolate and your like jacket potato, not roast potato. What do you call it? Jacket potato. What do you call it?
I don't know.
What do you call a potato with its skin on that you put in the oven?
Oh, like
baked potato.
Baked potato, yeah.
Baked potato, and then you put butter and whatever on it, and you yum. And then no more burning effigy of a human because we don't do that anymore. But big bonfire, and then the fireworks. So November the 5th in England is firework night.
Are you going to do anything there? Maybe shoot some fire? I love fireworks, by the way. No. I absolutely love fireworks.
No, because we have fireworks for like 4th of July and New Year's here. So
yeah.
No.
I saw a video. This is so shit. I was like, wow, this is the content on Twitter now. I saw a video of a guy on Twitter after the Dodgers won. He's like lighting a firework in the street and he just blows his hand apart. Yeah, it's pretty fucked. Like it shows it. It's pretty fucked. Like, oh, this is the content. So I've closed that app.
Why they don't let everybody buy fireworks because
I've actually almost done that.
That is the day. So all of my family will obviously be out celebrating that. So we obviously don't have July 4th fireworks, but this is our. That's cool. Also known as firework night. So that's what's going on. What else is going on? Nothing really. Have I done a podcast? I have done a podcast since I've come back from my trip. That's right, I have.
Yeah.
Nothing really. I just haven't been feeling too hot. Obviously watched the race at the weekend, which was great. Even as a McLaren fan, it was a great race. Mm-hmm. The story of the two Alpine drivers, I just think is. I hope that I hope because they're coming to an end as teammates, and I hope that this last race really helped heal their relationship, and I hope that they end on a good note. Because they were friends in their childhood years. Also, Alpine is like has a lot of investment from like some big like conglomerates that are owned by celebrities. So like Ryan Reynolds has a sort of mini stake in it, as do Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and someone else. Like Chiefs, they have some kind of thing in Alpine. But anyway, that was good. Yeah, I really haven't been up to much because I have not been feeling that great myself. So I don't really have anything very interesting to report, and I'm not really doing anything interesting this week or this weekend.
Fascinating. Riveting.
So my life is my dogs are asleep. Oh, my cat's got hypothyroidism, but I think I told you that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's fine. He's going to be fine. He just has to take medicine every day. And he's probably the easiest animal that we have to give him medicine. I have already started my Christmas shopping.
For me?
Oh, yeah, I've already started it. And I know what I'm getting most people. So I'm normally ahead of the game with my Christmas gifting now, as you know. And I do pride myself on being a good gifter, like thoughtful, like I think about things, what somebody would really either use or like, or those kind of things. So
pardon me. My friend. Okay. So you met Joe in Chicago.
I love Joe.
When we, so Austin had the idea. I was like, hey, why don't she gave me one, but I said, hey, why don't you make one for Joe? So for Christmas, I think she's going to make him a helmet bag with a bunch of pigeons on it. Like the pattern of the cloth is a bunch of pigeons on his helmet bag for his bike.
Love it. He'll love that because he's got a great sense of humor.
Yeah, She gave me one. I opened it. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking awesome. This is the
Oh,
funniest
I
thing.
need you to tell her something. The book that I bought her is now a series on PBS that just started last Sunday. So
Really?
after she's read the book, she needs to go watch the show because then she'll see my hometown. So
Okay.
what about your parents?
As far as gifts?
Yeah.
My dad would just want food. What did my mom want? Well, she wants furniture. She wants like a new couch or
I
something.
feel like you were going to buy her furniture last year, or you did buy her furniture last year.
Yeah, there's been some.
Okay. Haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Let's see. She talked about furniture. Yeah, my dad doesn't. He just wants food. That's about all I want for Christmas. You can just get me food. Yeah, it's food.
Food?
Yeah, or fireworks. You can send me fireworks.
I know. I should send your parents a gift this year.
They don't know who you. Well, actually, my dad does.
Your dad does. Your dad loves me.
I don't know why.
And your dad likes food.
Yeah, but you can't cook.
I wouldn't be able to send something I cooked, first of all. And second of all, I can cook very well. Maybe I should send your dad some British food.
Oh, he would love that.
I know.
He'd be all about that life.
Great.
I'm gonna get my mom's furniture. I can get my nephew some bike stuff. He's into that now. He's the rowdiest kid. Like it's crashed. He had a brutal crash.
Like 9 feet tall.
Yeah, he's probably like 6'4" now. Gangly kid. I'll get him like a good helmet. He's the rowdiest kid. Even as a baby, he just like throw himself downstairs. He was like, I want to like
Fearless.
I don't know. He was just a couple of years old, and then you could tell like he would point down this. He'd be at the top of his a set of stairs, like in the house, and he'd point down like he wants to go, but nobody would, and he'd just throw himself down. He'd just like roll down, and he wouldn't even cry. Just get back up and just like walk it off. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
What would you get? What would you get Lacey?
Probably a car. Because she just got her permit, her learner's permit. I don't know what you call it over here. But she can't really learn to drive yet because I have a big SUV and she's not going to learn to drive that. So I think we're going to try and get her nothing expensive or anything like that, just something that she can tootle around with, learn to drive and have for a year or two for her.
I learned to drive in my dad's Suburban. It was the best thing. Like you learn how to drive a bus, you can drive anything.
Yeah, but my car's like new and I don't feel like getting it dinged. So where we're at. My husband and I don't get each other gifts. If we do, it's something small, but we don't typically do that. If we do, typically it'll be something for the house. So I don't have to worry about him. Our son, he's getting to that point where he's sort of difficult to buy for because he's got everything. I've got a few ideas.
Fireworks?
No. Very smart kid. He is very smart, but common sense is not. Yeah, no. So I have a few ideas for him, and then I have a couple of friends I have to buy for. But we don't go as crazy as family. We typically don't really buy for family anymore because there was a lot of us. It was getting very expensive. So what we tend to do is just have time together. Also, it's my husband's mom's first holiday period without her husband. So
yeah.
Time more than anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, and normally for Thanksgiving, we go out on our boat and disappear and have turkey sandwiches. Just the four of us, or however many of us there are. But this year, I don't know what we're doing because obviously, we want to make sure that time is spent. So I don't know what we're going to do this year. I don't know and obviously it depends on the weather as well. So I don't know what we're doing this year, but it is coming up here very soon. So
boat sounds awesome.
Yeah, we just used to go out on the boat and eat like turkey sandwiches and just hang out there. and then come home. And then the next day, the first day it should be legal, we decorate for Christmas on Black Friday, and not a second before. Oh, but one of my dearest friends that I've made since I've been here, she's literally like a sister to me. I call her mom. She lives about an hour from me. When I moved over here before I met my husband, we lived somewhat close to each other, and we would do a lot of things together all the time. And we've always been friends. And her mom actually in hurricanes has come and stayed with us, has like evacuated to our house. And she did that this year. But she is literally moving 1.9 miles from my house. So I was with her yesterday. They were doing an inspection on the house yesterday. I went over, I saw it super close. I'm super excited that she's going to be back close to me, so we can do all of the things we did before, like go get pedicures, go get lunch. We used to make Christmas cookies together and mince pies. And so she's supposed to be closing on her house like 2 days before Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow. That quick, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm like super excited.
Cool. That'll be fun, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I got nothing like that. In fact, I want to be moving the next couple months. We're dialing that in, but yeah, you know how it is. I think this is the best time of I think the best time of the year is after Thanksgiving through the New Year. I love Christmas music. I just love holidays. I love like just the food, and I don't really mind the travel that much.
Christmas is my favorite holiday. It has the favorite food. Fight me on this, because peppermint spice, isn't it? It has the best food. It has the best smells. It has people, almost everybody has time off. Even people that don't celebrate Christmas typically tend to get time off.
Yeah.
It's just, you spend time with people. Christmas is my favorite holiday, like, period.
Can't wait. Yes. And mine's Thanksgiving. Food, the turkey, the stuffing. That's my go-to. Just turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes. I am going to smash so much food. I can't wait. And sweet potatoes.
No.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, well, I'm done with you now.
I've
I
been
need to
done
go
with
back
you.
to my bed. And
let's roll to Amy, huh? She was the boss. That was such a cool interview, by the way.
I know, she's great. I would like to have her back on, because you know the algorithm's going to change 12 times between now and New Year or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I would definitely, she for sure is a must-have back guest.
Yeah, she's awesome.
For sure. I don't know what my dog's doing, but I think she's going rogue behind me. I don't trust her. She just wandered back that way somewhere. All right, well, let's wrap this up. Remember, you can find us on the usual spots: LinkedIn, YouTube, because this will be our faces, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music. Please comment, like, subscribe, give us a review, ask us any questions. I think that's it.
We'll be back again next week.
Yep, back for another one.
Peace.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the High Rankings podcast. You'll see our faces today, which you know is not common, and we have an extra special guest today. With us today, we have Amy Toman, and she is a diamond product expert with Google, which I did not know even existed until about a week ago. So I think this conversation is going to be very fascinating, not only for our listeners, but for me, because I think I described this as magical when Charlie first told me about the work that Amy was helping us with. So Amy, if you wouldn't mind, could you please go ahead and introduce us to you a little bit, and then exactly what is a diamond product expert?
Okay, I volunteer for Google. Well, let me start with this. I am a professional SEO. I work with law firms. I work with many, many, many small businesses, and I spend a good amount of time volunteering on the Google Business Profile Forum. I spent so much time on there. It's you, after a while, you kind of level up, like in gaming, you level up, and eventually there's about 5 levels, and I've reached the top one because I just spent so much time there. And what it is the forum is a place where business owners who have Google business listings, and when they have troubles, they will go there. Oftentimes they will go to support, or they will kind of look on social media and can't get an answer or can't get somebody specifically to work on their listing. And they will bring it to the Google Business Profile Forum, which is a free forum. And people like me will either answer the question or get their information to Google for resolution. And like I said, I just do that a lot.
So it's a voluntary situation. Google doesn't pay you to do this. So
they don't pay us, but we learn a lot about the structure of the product, the Google Business Profiles. And I use that, to the advantage of small businesses. And also they do give us little benefits. Like once a year, we do all get together and they will fly us to that place. We'll have a day or two of kind of a summit, seminars, and we'll get even more information. We'll work with Googlers in person. And, that's a nice benefit.
Yeah, that's not terrible. So how did you originally find the forum? Were you having an issue and you were trying to figure it out, or was it a different situation where you before you climbed all of the ranks, like you were at the bottom with everybody else?
When I first started in SEO, I had a couple of friends who I knew from almost departed SEO Twitter. A lot of people are just not there as much anymore, me included for the most part. And a friend started, I had a question. I asked a friend if he could help me resolve this. And he said, sure. He does things on the forum. So I said, gee, explain to me the forum. And he did. And through his encouragement, I started answering questions also. And I just kind of keep it as a hobby at this point. I just do it kind of, whenever I'm at doing my regular tasks for the day, I just will log in and I'll answer 3 or 4 questions and then I'll go back later. And so it was a gradual thing. I've been doing it. I checked recently. It says I've been doing it now for 5 straight years. And to get to this level, it took 5 years. So to go from level to level, it's not a matter of points. It's a combination of points and your skill set. Kind of what knowledge you have, how are you helping others? Don't be snarky, be nice, be friendly,
don't roast
give people as complete answers as you can. I try not to. When I started out, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, let's see what we can do. And now I'm like, okay, cool. Give me this information. They give it to me. I say, okay, I will send this to Google. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Just like I've just gotten to because I answer so many of them. I want to be nice. I'm just very, straight to the point.
But like you're not there to make friends. And I don't mean that in like you're an awful person type way, but the more succinct you can keep your responses, the more people you can help. So,
exactly. And that's the thing is I want to help as many people as I can. I've helped people all over the world. I would say as long as they speak English, but occasionally there are some people who come on and I'm not sure how they get to the English speaking forum because I do know their forums are available in most countries. But I've helped people in Indonesia and not really Africa as much. They must have product experts there who kind of get those, but like Asia, you're all over Europe, Australia, like I said, kind of Asia, India, Northern Africa, most places where people will type in their information in English. I've gotten a few where they weren't in English and Google Translate is my friend. And I've kind of figured things out and that worked out. But no, it's not like I'm mean or anything, but I do try to get to the point. I try to find the information that they need and forward it to them so they can either hopefully resolve it themselves. And if they can't resolve it themselves, I get the information that I need from them, the documentation usually, and then I forward it on to Google.
So can people, when they go onto the forum, can they specifically seek you out, or do they post their question, their problem, and then somebody in your position like a diamond product expert comes along and answers it, is it kind of luck of the draw for them, or is there a way of them actually getting like specifically you or somebody else?
It's a really good question. For the most part, it is luck of the draw. You can ask for somebody in the text, but if the person who picks it up isn't in contact with me, and meaning that I'm in contact with a lot of product experts who are silver and up, but not a lot. I'm in contact with I'm in contact with everybody who's at my level, which is the diamond in English.
What are the tiers?
I'm sorry?
What are the tiers? Speaking of that.
The tiers are bronze, which means that somebody is just interested in helping. And then once they get the ability to be able to contact Google directly, that's silver. And then gold, platinum, and diamond. So it's bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond. So I know most people, and they can, most people, like I said, at platinum and above, and they can, contact me off the board and say, oh, you've been summoned, which is what I do. I do with them also. But there's no way to specifically tag somebody, whether in text or in the title. Like, we won't get notified unless somebody says, And also, I will say too, I will add, a lot of posts don't get responded to. It is I don't know for sure, but I believe it's the busiest platform. Google has these for all their products, right? For Google Voice and Gmail and accounts and all that. I am pretty sure that the one for Google Business Profiles is the busiest. I know it has the most product experts of any of the platforms. I don't know, but I've often been on meetings where there have been about 50 people. But if you think that's 50 people, and that's 50 people who either speak or can do English, there are people in other countries and other areas, but amongst the English, there's about 50 all told. And that's only the top three levels.
So specifically, your specific expertise that has gotten you to the top tier is the Google Business Profile, formerly known as Google My Profile. That is where your expertise is with as far as Google goes. Like,
yes,
no one's going to be reaching out to you to help them with the Google ad or something like that. It is
no. We get them. These badges, designations, whatever, are specific to a certain platform. So people with ads, they have a different community. People with Google Voice, they have a different different way of interacting. I'm specifically on Google Business Profiles. I've thought of going into one or two of the others and just trying to see if I know enough, basically, but haven't done that yet.
So you've helped businesses, all different types of businesses. Obviously, we specifically deal with dispensaries, but I think that your help and your expertise would probably be beneficial to anybody and everybody that I could think of. We talked about attorneys, dog walkers, dispensaries. Are there times when you think, you probably could have figured this out yourself? Like,
all the time.
I don't mean that I guess I do mean that in a mean way, but like,
no, I understand what you're saying. I understand. Yeah, but here's the thing. I think sometimes, and I've thought this from a long time, you can't often find the answer how to do something unless you know specifically what to search on. And if you don't know the name or the terms that are most often used, you can't find it. Plus, there's a lot of I'm saying this in a positive way. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Yeah. So I'm saying that, like, you'll go on to a social media platform and you'll ask others a question, and some people will come back and they will tell you their experience. The problem with that is that your experience is not exactly the same, right? And because of that, their answer won't specifically pertain to you. There's a lot of nuance going on. Yeah. So on the one hand, people can often, if and I'll do that. I will link and I will say, here is where that process is described. and I will provide the Google link to it.
Mhm.
But again, sometimes even with simple things, you kind of have to provide context for that. You can't just throw out the links. You have to be able to say, okay, this is what you need to do. Here's how to do it. If that does not work for you, come back, respond to the post and let me know what happened. So,
Can you go into, Amy, given your history in this, where you think Google got more stringent, and maybe like, I think it was a bunch of greasy lawyers. From what I've heard, is a bunch of greasy lawyers in California that were like gaming GMB listings, and like that's how they scaled their firm. So can you go into what you think caused Google to tighten up their restrictions and what that means for dispensaries today?
I don't know that it was linked to a specific category or industry. I do know that there have been some lawsuits out, possibly but definitely outside the U.S. that has caused them to change a lot of their processes. One of which is, I know that they that's why they changed the escalation process, like how to get reinstated. That was due to some lawsuits. And again, I don't think that they were inside the US. Also, I mean, they're constantly trying to, I think they're constantly listening to users and saying, okay, look, this is a current exploit. Let's go in and fix it. A recent one, I think people were problematic about reviews, about fake reviews, and how come I can I'm getting attacked and nobody is, and Google's not helping me. Well, I could tell you from personal experience that Google has been really, really good about having their sensors out there for attacks. Oftentimes somebody will come onto the forum and say, I've been attacked, 100 reviews in, X period of time. And by the time I see this and I go in, they've all but like 3 have been removed. So I think I do agree that bad behavior triggers a lot of these changes, but I also think it's sometimes lawsuits. People are like, this wasn't supposed to happen. This did happen. This affected me this way. Lawsuit. And it's frustrating. I mean, it helps though, right? It helps kind of clean up the process. It used to be with reinstatements that you would go back and forth 6 times with Google in the support process. Not anymore. And it's very specific now, but it helped them. It helped them kind of define the process, and it's very clear now. They didn't have that before.
Yeah.
And Google never told you before what your offense was. And now, even though it's not as specific as it could be, they do give you a hint at least. And again, that is something that I think grew out of listening to users, listening to people in bad spots and saying, okay, we need to do something. So
if a dispensary owner, they wake up and they get that email, your account has been, or pardon me, your location has been suspended, what actions can they take to get that reinstated?
Oh, great. This is like the best question of the day. Okay. First thing you have to do is figure out is go in and say, see what Google said. And if you have a bunch of listings and they all went down at the same time, that's one very specific reason. Okay. That's very specific. And that's not necessarily what's on the listing, right? That's has to do with an account. So then you would go talk to the people you work with and say, we have to figure out which account is the problematic one. Other than that, what the first thing you want to do is you want to get your paperwork together. You want to make sure, because at every step, you need to present to Google quality, authoritative documentation. That is usually, if we're talking in the US, and everywhere else, you can kind of, have the equivalent of this. It's usually your state business registration. If you are operating under a different title, most states have a version of a DBA or a fictitious name or an alternate name, all of which you register so that you're allowed to operate under that. So that those are the first two you want to get together, is your LLC and or your DBA. Once you get that, you want to look for any other paperwork that you have to prove your business name and your address. Once you have that, you go in and you look at the Google listing. Google may or may not have told you, may or may not, usually does, a kind of a general idea. Sometimes they'll say you don't exist. Well, that's different from deceitful content. Some people will say, oh, but I do exist. I know I exist. Well, what they want to do then is they want to see you basically prove that. If it's deceitful content, that means that they're seeing some conflicting information out there. That could be anything from maybe you have two listings and one address and you shouldn't. That could be maybe there's two listings at one address. That could be a bunch of things. But what you want to do first is you want to log into your listing in general. Is it just one listing that went away? Is it a bunch? And then you want to get your paperwork together. When you have, the way the process goes generally is you are offered an appeal. The appeal, it's astoundingly simple. It's well laid out, but there are little things to be aware of. When you go in and you appeal, what you need to do before you start that is you need to look at the Google listing and you need to make sure that there's nothing on there that could be perceived as, deceptive. Do you have a sign at the address? If your address shows, you have to have permanent signage, and I'm not talking like a lawn sign or a banner. It has to be a permanent sign. You have to have, and you should have photos of that. If your title shows, if your title on there, you have to make sure that your paperwork matches it. Okay. So if you have, say, I don't know, Bob's Dispensary, but the dispensary has other things, and this title, these 4 services and this location, that is going to be problematic. You have to have the paperwork, the title on your listing has to be the same as on your paperwork. And that's like a big deal. A lot of people forget that. So the two biggest things are the title and the address. Those are the ones you want to support for the most part on your paperwork. So when you go into the appeal process, let me just point this out too. You're going to have one appeal. If you're lucky, you'll get another option. Sometimes you don't get that option. For the first appeal, get all your paperwork together. Go in. They usually have a link. They will tell you, start with this. When you start, they will ask you all the basic information. You're going to do this from an account that is a user on the listing. You go in, put all this information in, and you have, from the time you start this, you have 60 minutes, 60 minutes. And if you don't, anything you do after that, if you walk away to get some paperwork, do whatever, to scan something, that counts towards your time. So like I've seen tons of posts from people saying, well, I didn't get a chance to submit my paperwork. And it's like, but then when you talk to them, it's because that 60-minute clock went out. Mm-hmm. The obvious question is, well, hey, I'll be able to know when that clock starts and when it ends, won't I? And the answer is, if you set your own clock, fine. There is nothing on the screen that tells you that the clock is running. So you need to, in advance, you need to look at your Google listing, fix it if necessary, and get your paperwork together. You log into Appeal, get everything done within 60 minutes, you're golden. They will then come back to you usually, and they will give you, I forget if it's on screen or if they'll send you an email acknowledging. You also get in acknowledgement of that, you will get what's called a case ID. You always want to hold on to that because you may need that. You will, within a few days, depending on Google's workload, because they will say you'll hear back in 3 days, but depending on what's going on, sometimes it'll be sooner, sometimes it will take more time. Right now, I think it's as we're recording this, time is pretty quick. So you'll hear back. If you hear back positively, that's great. Things should come back within a few days, right? Your listing should be visible to everybody. Your reviews should be there. Your photos should be there. You're golden. If your appeal is rejected, you may be offered a second appeal. And if you are, you need to do the obvious things, which is look and see what did you not include, or what can you include in addition to what you've already included. Do that. That's great. And again, wait, catch the case ID, see if it's different, and then move on, and then wait and see what Google's response is. If either you don't get a second appeal or you do a second appeal and that's also rejected, your only other option at that point is to have a Google product expert escalate for you. Most of the time, most people will go to the forum and see if somebody will help them. But as I said, it's the busiest of Google's forums, and not all posts get answered. So I've seen people say, "Oh, I posted on there 3 times and nobody got back to me." It's not good. It's not paid support. People log in when they can. They log in at night. They log in the middle of the morning, whenever. So sometimes they get answered, sometimes they don't. The other way is to contact somebody individually. I know I do it. There's also services who will say that they work with a Google product expert. Then what those people usually do, I know of one company who does it. I know I do it. We walk you through. We look at your listing, like every single specific part of your listing, to make sure that it complies with Google's rules. We then look at your documentation. Charlie can tell you, I ask for far too much information, but I've also been very successful recently. I've been very happy with that, because you want to prove that what you said on the Google listing, that you have all your full documentation for. So at that point, that Google product expert will help you get that escalated to Google. Google will sit with it. Hopefully they will come back positive. Occasionally they don't, but sometimes they usually, I wouldn't say they usually do. They often do. And then you can get started again. So that's in short, that's the process. You have 1, sometimes 2 different appeals. If they don't work out, or if you're not granted a second one, you need a Google product expert to escalate it to the humans of Google for you. I know I make it sound really long and detailed, but that's basically it. 1, possibly 2 appeals, then you have to have a product expert. If you can't get somebody's attention on the forum, best thing to do is contact somebody privately.
Oof, I have questions.
Good.
Firstly, I'm going to ask them both before I ask you to answer, because I feel like if I ask one, I'll forget the second. Firstly, why do they make this so hard? Why can't they just say, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong? Why is it vague? And second of all, who is this? Are humans looking at these business profiles and then rejecting them? And then when you appeal, rejecting that? Is it an algorithm? Is it people? I just don't understand what benefit it is to Google to be so vague and initially seemingly unhelpful. because I just think it just creates confusion. And then obviously it's great that there's people like you who understand the process and have an ability to talk to a human. But you think how many people use Google, and how few of you with your level of expertise are. When I was listening to you, I'm like, surely they could make this a bit simpler for people. And bearing in mind that your expertise is one section of Google. And you think how many other products, great products that Google offers, that if they're as vague as those and as they are with this, I'm just baffled. So those are my two questions.
Let me start out with, I think they make this, it's a little bit more difficult than I may make it sound a little bit more difficult than it actually is. But I will say that one of the reasons why Google is so specific about this, because I always say anybody can get a Google listing. Not everybody can keep a Google listing, because at some point they're going to say to you, basically justify your existence. And I think the reason why they do that is because they want to promote businesses. They don't want to look foolish. Okay. If you're going to go to somebody to ask who's the best, service provider near me, they want to make sure that those people are not screwing around. They want to make sure that they actually exist, that they're not going to, steal someone's money. Okay. Because it's happened a lot. We both know that. I will say that before Google, a prior incarnation, my son set us up as a business at my house. It was, but he was like 12 when he did it. But that becomes the problem, is that after a while, those things become ingrained in that system. I still wish I could pull it back. I will tell you, because it was a great, great one. But anyway, my point is they've been trying hard to get rid of all the fake ones. But what they do, because as I pointed out many times in other conversations, spammers ruin the party for everybody.
Yeah.
You used to be able to just get a postcard and there you go. You Google.
Yeah, you get the code and those greasy lawyers. I think.
Exactly.
I don't know.
It's not, in defense of attorneys, I will say yes, but also there's a couple others, specifically locksmiths and I want to say garage door. And
really?
I'm trying to remember, there was
driveway. We talked about this last week. Remember I said driveway.
Oh yeah.
It's hard because they've done a lot of lead gen listings. And again, I'm not saying the attorneys haven't. I haven't worked with people like that, and I wouldn't, but that's another issue. But I do think that Google is trying to make it so that it's not, like I said, you can get a listing, but you can't necessarily keep it, because at some point they're going to say to you, justify the fact that this business is where you say it is and operates as you say it does. So I'm sorry, I don't remember the second question that you had.
So the first question was, when there's an issue, why are they so vague about what the issue is? Why can't they be more specific about what the issue is? So that you're not shooting in the dark, That's
excellent. They are getting better, I will say. You remember I said sometimes they're saying now, your listing doesn't exist, or deceitful activity, or I have seen one, spam activity. Spam activity is very difficult to get around. I will say that. If you get that, find a service, find a person, find a human, because that is very difficult to fight. I actually just fought one and I was so proud of myself, because it wasn't what you would expect, but I realized why they fought that. And so we got the listing back, and I was here, I was doing like the happy dance, as one does when one works remote and doesn't have somebody else to happy dance with. But they're getting better with that. I don't know the reason, why they don't, but I do know that they're getting better. And it wouldn't surprise me if that had something to do with, the result of some far-flung lawsuit.
Real quick, going back to Charlie's greasy lawyer issue. I was looking for a lawyer the other day. A friend of mine's buying a house. It's the whole thing. And I just pulled this up while you were talking, because I wanted to ask you a quick question. If I just Google specific attorney near me, what comes up next to it? It says Google screened with a green check mark. And I have I may have seen it before and not noticed it, but is that specific to a type of industry, or is that like an extra step that Google have done to make sure that this lawyers exist, or is that something new?
It's not new. They've been around for a few years. And yes, it's an extra level of advertising. But what's good about it is to get into that program, you have to do things like have your background checked. They have to do a whole bunch of checks on the business before. I have not done them, but I work with somebody who has, and they do extensive checks, and it can take a few months before you get enrolled in that. But they do have very good ROI. I will say that. And
So,
I would tend to
confidence building.
trust somebody who's in that program over just, somebody who you just pick up from, a near me search.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of times when you're looking for greasy lawyers, as he likes to refer to them, unless you've been referred by someone who's had an experience with that particular attorney, I think it's hard anyway. But okay, so in order for you to have a successful go at having a Google business profile, you obviously would have to make sure that your business is where it is the name that you claim that it is, et cetera, et cetera. What do you do if you're, in this case, a brand new dispensary, and you are either building a new building or you're taking over a location, but you really want to get your local SEO up and running before the doors open because you want business on day one, right? So how can you successfully have a Google business profile ready to go before your doors are open if you're in the middle of, getting your sign put up or getting your business there? Because you do SEO, so you understand there's a lead time there. So what's the best way if it's a new location or even a new dispensary themselves to achieve that without flagging up the Google gods?
And how early do you register that? Do you try and claim that GMB listing?
I wish I knew on that. I do know you can do it beforehand, and as you can put an opening date in there and then change it if need be. But in general, what I would suggest to lay down the groundwork, and I will say that these steps usually always it depends, but usually helps Google verify your listing more quickly when citations are out there. And by citations, what I mean is you have social account. Hopefully, if the social account isn't specifically for that location, then it's maybe it's for the entire business, but you constantly, in the lead up, you mention that location, preferably if it was just specifically for that location. And then you want to have directory mentions. I don't want to mention the directories because I know that there's a bunch of them, and I'm not as well versed in cannabis as I should, but I know there are some very well-known directories. You want to put your information in there if they allow it. You also want to have socials, you want to have directories, and you also want to have a website page specific to that location. And when I say that, yes, I just did run into someone who can't believe a certain was having problems with their Google listing, not in this category, a different one. And I looked at their listing at their website, and the first thing I did was a site search. Their website was, I think she said it came online in January and it was still no indexed. Google will not, if you have linked to a page that is not, it's a whole bunch of things, but if it's not indexed, if it's got a lot of spammy links going to it, if it's got a lot of broken links on the page, if it's just spammy in general, Google usually won't verify that page as a link. So again, thinking ahead, like, what would happen if I get suspended? What paperwork do I need? It's the same thing. Think about what sort of information might Google look at, and let's just make sure it's all clean. A lot, just basically online references, right? The biggest one, of course, is the website. And I will say the specific page should have the address on it, address, and phone. If you even want to do directions, even if the Google listing isn't ready, maybe just to have something on there, and also have a map, those are the biggest things I would have in advance. Because again, not only do the whole thing is with Google is, does it help users? Spam doesn't help users, so we want to get rid of that. If you put information on there that is going to help users find the location, it's probably a good thing to have on there prior to you actually going live with the Google listing.
That is definitely good to know, because I know we've had clients who've run into that for sure. I guess another one that would probably pertain specifically to our clients is, what would you say would be like, I don't know, the top 4 or 5 like biggest ranking factors for like a Google business profile for dispensaries?
Oh, really, really good. First one I would say is, well, it's almost always location, because Google listings get recommended within a very specific, without any other marketing. They get recommended within a very small area, right? And it's usually anywhere, depending on the population density, it's anywhere from, 2 miles to, a few miles, maybe 4 or 5. So location is usually the biggest thing where listings will come up in search results. If the person just happens to be near you, good or bad, you will almost always show up. Second thing is title. You can be, again, Bob's Dispensary, but if you're Bob's Dispensary, which again, right there is a service that you're providing or a product that you're selling, but then you add the location onto that, maybe it's, and again, I don't know the industry as well as I could, but if there's a specific thing or a service that this business will provide, other than just saying, Bob's Dispensary, could put that in the title also. I strongly recommend that if you do this, you have a DBA for it. Because again, I'm always thinking towards, if you get suspended, you're going to have to be able to support that. Yeah. So if you have one for like Bob's Dispensary, but you want to add Bob's Dispensary location, you don't need to get a brand new LLC and paperwork. What you need is to get a DBA, because if you have all the information in the name of Bob's Dispensary, for that one location, you just need the DBA, fictitious name, alt name that says Bob's, dispensary location.
If there was one thing that you would want anybody to know about Google business profiles, or setting them up, or appealing, what do you think would be the most valuable piece of advice or information that you could give to somebody?
Well, the one thing is FAFO, with relation to don't do things you shouldn't do, because you will find out. Because here's the thing, people report other businesses, and that's how Google finds out.
They sure do love to do that, don't they?
Yes, they do. And, but here's the thing, you can go out right now and you can report 5 different businesses. If you do it wrong, of course, like there's best ways to do that. I know a lot of them. But the thing is, who makes the ultimate decision on actions taken? It's Google. So you can sit there and you can have, you can be doing whatever activity, and you're just like, yeah, nobody will notice. Somebody almost always notices. Somebody is going to report you, and you're going to have to sit there and justify whatever it was, whether it's, it's you're not really at that address, or, X number of, I don't know, other things on your listing, reviews, just anything. At some point, Google's going to find out, and they've gotten a lot better about finding these things somewhat on their own and acting. Sometimes you will report something and they've already dealt with it, or they already, it's like a known thing. So I think the biggest thing is, as much as you can, always think towards, you're thinking two things. One, I want to get as the best visibility I possibly can, but also what will happen if I get suspended? Do I have this information from the client? Does the client have it? If not, can I advise the client, look, I know you need a DBA in this state. Look, this is the link to get that DBA, right? You shouldn't be doing this. Here's the reason why, and here's how you can stop, just an example. But my point is, two things to think about. You want to get the best visibility, but you also want to do it in a way that if you get bagged for it, you are going to be able to support kind of what you're doing with Google.
Mm-hmm.
They are very unforgiving sometimes, and you cannot work around them because what are you going to do? You want to sue them? Go for it. Look how big they are. They're not going to care. So
that's a way to waste a whole bunch of money right there.
Well, that's it. They're the elephant in the room. So like I said, you want to get the best visibility, but you also want to protect the business. And if you're an agency, due diligence, explain to them what's going on and what you're seeing and what they may need to protect themselves from,
Without giving any inside information, because I would never ask, but what changes do you foresee coming up? Or if you don't foresee them, what changes would you like to see coming up to make things smoother or better or less chaotic for some people?
I would like to see better. I would like to see them better enforce their rules, because a lot of times, and when I say that, I mean more on content. Like bad reviews will come up. And there's nuance to all of them, right? Because something that may mean one thing in North America does not mean the same thing in the UK, and it does not mean the same thing in Indonesia. So I understand because of that, because I understand the breadth of a lot of these, I understand why things are not uniformly enforced. But I do wish there was more of that. I wish there was more enforcement of spam listings going away. They're getting a lot better about that. I think that's the biggest thing is I wish they were a lot better about enforcing their rules, whether it comes to reviews, whether it comes to just entirely fake listings. I wish they were better about that. And I do see it coming because, as I said, they've changed about like with some categories now. If you either get suspended or if you're starting a new listing, you have to do a video. It's not like you can get a postcard to be done. You have to get a video now. You have to do a video and pass that, or they won't verify your listing. Like I said, they're also getting a lot better in about reviews, especially fake ones in large numbers. But again, sometimes it's the smaller ones that really hurt small businesses, right? If you only have 5 reviews and then you get 5 fake reviews overnight, that just tanks you. So I think, they're getting there, they're progressing. But again, you have to understand, to me, in as much as it will hurt my business, it will hurt your business, it will hurt, the guy next door. You have to put it in the context of the rules that they are applying globally. Like they will roll something out and they will say, this applies to every place except this one country. They will say, this is starting in this one country. And once we kind of get everything all settled, then it'll apply globally. So, in that respect, you have to give them a little bit of credit because they are trying to apply things coming usually from, I guess, the US or European centers, and then applying them to the entire world. So you can understand why sometimes these things are just not as we expect.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And like you said, there's nuance to everything.
Yep.
I mean, that's just the nature of the world, right? So some things that work here in America categorically will not work in some.
I will tell you my one example, my one big example is in the US, when you register a business, and this is US, Canada is the same thing. When you register a business, you register it, the business name. And then if you have, say, like a second name, like a DBA, you can register that separately. Okay.
Yeah.
Every state has the LLC. Every state has like C Corps, all these different articles of incorporation, all of that.
Yeah.
In the UK, a lot of small businesses operate as sole traders.
Yep.
I've been told they don't have to. They're not required to register the business. I've also been told this is in several places in Eastern Europe. It's the same thing. So when they get suspended, they're like, what am I supposed to, what am I supposed to do? Because you're telling me I need to do my, my this registration, my that, but I don't have any of that. So this is, you know what I mean? This is what I'm saying, is that there's one set of rules, and then it has to be kind of applied again with that nuance to all these different situations around the world. And it's tough. It really is tough. And that's why if you're lucky enough to work with a Google product expert, if I come upon a situation, if somebody hires me and I come upon a situation that I'm not familiar with, I have an entire small community, and I can say, I even have people in 3 or 4 people in Europe and Ukraine who I can say, have you dealt with this situation? Because we're all so intent upon this one topic. So it's when you hire somebody who does this, it's like their existence, they can get you through it. But that's why, like, sometimes, again, a normal person will say, well, I don't understand why that happens. But a Google product expert could give you the background and the nuance for it.
Gotcha. So as we wrap up here, Amy, my biggest takeaways are: don't keyword stuff. Don't try and cheat your GMB listing, and have all appropriate paperwork in case something goes down.
Exactly. The number one, 100%. Make sure that you have look toward suspension. What would you have, or what can you get to just keep on the side? And then if it ever happens to you, there you go. You're ready to present it.
But you don't present it before?
Pardon?
You wouldn't, so you don't present it when you set up the Google business profile?
You do not. This is why I said anybody can get a Google listing for the most part.
Yeah.
It's when you're it's when you're suspended, or sometimes when you're verified, that you would have to present that information. So that's why I said, I can go right now and I can, well, not my house because I already have one, but I can set up one for next door.
Yeah.
Which would probably go through flying because I know the rules. But the issue is, if I were then have to go, and if they said to me, well, tell us more about this business, I'd be screwed because I don't have that paperwork. So yeah, always want to look towards that.
That's crazy. I mean, I understand why they do it that way, but yeah, it's basically as you're setting up your business profile or your new location or whatever it may be, particularly for our clients for their dispensaries, is create a folder where you have this information in it. So if/when you encounter a problem, it's not a panic mode situation because you have everything, and then you can, upload that up to Google.
Correct. That's 100% correct. And that's what I truly advise all agencies to do, is to request that information, keep it separate. If, just advise clients, if anything changes, if you get a DBA, if you're thinking of moving, all of that, they should talk to you about, if they're going to move, where are they going to go to, because a lot of times you can sit there and you can guide them towards why this is or is not a good spot. I don't know if the dispensary industry has that with SEOs, but in legal space, lawyers contact their agencies and say, is this a good spot to move?
I've heard that.
So I don't know if that's something that you all offer, but it's something you may want to consider.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, that's really important. See all this useful information that we've just got in the last 45 minutes. I had no idea. I'm like I told you at the beginning, I'm completely fascinated by what you do and the ins and outs. And yeah, it's funny how you think, oh, I'm just going to set up my Google business profile, I'll be fine. And then off you trot on, get on with what you would deem as more important parts of the dispensary or your business. And then all of a sudden you get this email from Google that just stops you dead in your tracks. And something that you thought was so simple way back a year or two ago is now created this whole issue within your organization. Thank goodness we have people like you in the world that can make head and tails of all of this, because it's fascinating, and I hope that our listeners have found it as interesting as I have, because I am fascinated by the whole thing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for answering all of my questions, because I'm sure you get asked a million questions a day, but I just find it super interesting. And I cannot thank you enough for coming on and spending some of your time on our podcast. And hopefully we'll have you back again, maybe with some new Google algorithm that we all need to know about, because they're always coming up. So I just wanted to thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time, Amy.
Thank you. And I will say, if anybody does need to contact me, I'm at local@Amy the SEO. It's AMY, amytheseo.com. And but you all know where I am as well. And I just really enjoy helping small businesses. And a lot of this stuff, there's so many little nuanced elements that it's really hard. Sometimes it's really hard to get past Google's barriers. So I know you all have it down, but let's hope it gets better going forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the High Rankings podcast, brought to you by Dispensary-Growth, the preeminent SEO agency for dispensaries. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you found value in the insight and the tips we shared. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're feeling super generous, we would love it if you left us a review. If there's a specific topic you'd like us to cover in a future episode, or if you have any questions, you can go ahead and find us on LinkedIn or YouTube. We'll see you next time.